Hello, and welcome to the Berkshire Football Stories chat podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things Berkshire non-league football. This week we'll be discussing Ascot on the brink of title promotion recognition, Bracknell keeping their own title hopes alive, and a cracking promotion race in the combined counties Div 1. We'll also be looking at some of the clubs on the other end of the tables, Hungerford and Windsor most notably going through their own relegation battles, but all the other interesting notes and stories from the Berkshire non-league football scene this week. Joining me to go through all of this is Tom Canning. Tom,
Hello.
how are you doing?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good. And I should also note that I am your host, Rob Davies.
Oh, yes, you are. Yes. You never introduce yourself.
Abby is will be joining us later on. But before we start on all the football chat, Tom, you have been talking about talking to the Combined Counties, the Combined Counties League, about the situation for all our clubs. There's obviously this season there seems to be a bit of a backlog of fixtures compared to other seasons. And you actually reached out to the Combined Counties, haven't you, Tom? And spoken to them about the ongoing situation and what happens if clubs can't complete their fixtures.
Yeah, I mean, just first things first. It's a mess. I think the end of this season is a mess. I did last week. I reached out to the FA and I published that last night. I think it was last night, which would have been Tuesday night. The FA. I asked the FA what happens if teams can't complete their seasons. The long and short of it was that the FA said that it is up to the leagues to decide. And I think that feels like a bit of a hospital pass, I believe, is the phrase. I think we can all agree that this is a complete and utter no-win scenario for anyone. No one, let alone anyone, is going to be happy, I think, come the end of this season. There are many reasons for this that this has happened this season, not least the fact that it is still raining. And pitches are flooded. It feels like it's rained every day since December. That's not unusual in this country. It is the UK. That is the weather that we have. It just does seem to be in a little bit worse. However, this season we have playoffs. There were playoffs in Division One of the Combined Counties League last season, and might I say as well, this is a countrywide issue, not just a Combined Counties League issue. I think there's probably some Isthmian League teams, some Southern League teams that are also, but probably not quite as don't have quite the backlog that, say, for example, in this instance, Sandhurst Town have. They have 11 games to play before the 22nd of April. There are a few reasons. I think that the fact that the playoffs mean there's a hard cut-off of the 22nd of April, the playoffs in step 5 this season as well, which is new this year. There are a lot of ground shares, which I think it's fair to say has been caused by the expansion of the non-league football pyramid, meaning there are more teams have had to be promoted, more teams have been promoted that don't have the required facilities. The actual ground gradings themselves haven't changed. They are just simply being enforced. And they're being enforced because, for example, a couple of years ago, the Hellenic League Division One East was, I think, at various points has been anything between 11 and 15 teams, meaning that most of the time you don't need midweek fixtures, meaning your Finch Hampsteads and other teams that had otherwise good grounds didn't have floodlights. So in a 20-team division, you have to have midweek games. You need floodlights. I'm sure there could have been some back and forth on that, but in the end, all that would do would be to cause more problems with fixture congestion in the end. So there are a load of reasons. I think the really interesting thing to come out of the Combined Counties League statement, because as I say, the FA said basically talk to the league, so that's what I did. One of the big things to come out from what the Combined Counties League have said, and I must admit, I feel firmly in team Combined Counties League in this. So I possibly, if anybody feels I have a slight air of bias about what I'm saying, then that may well be true. But knowing how difficult it is to plan fixtures, I don't know. Did anybody as a kid used to make up fixture plans? Because I did. That was one of the things I did as a kid. I'd make up mini imaginary Subbuteo leagues and set out the fixture plans. and I always missed a team off. There was always one team that I'd only play. I would always end up playing one game less because I'd missed one. So these things are difficult to plan. And when you've got to mitigate the fact that 15 of the 21 teams in the Combined Counties League Division One ground share with teams higher above, they have to wait for those to come through. They have to wait for those games. One of the points brought up in the statement. The statement is in full on the website. I'm not reading the statement out because it's quite lengthy, but I really would urge people to go and read it. It's on the front of the Football in Berkshire website. Go and have a look at it. It's on our social media channels as well. Go and have a proper read of it because I think it's fair, and I think it's accurate. People can feel free to disagree with me on that. I'm not involved in the day-to-day running as a football club, so other people will have different opinions to me. But from the outside looking in, that's what I feel. The cup runs, the fact that county cups often take precedence, and the idea as well that the landlord team often take precedence when having to rearrange games as well, because obviously if it's off for one team, the likelihood is then the other team's game will be off if there is one in the next couple of days as well. So we've got all of that. We've got AFC Aldermaston share at Thatcham. You've got Sandhurst and Bracknell share. I'm not sure which one's the landlord and which one's the tenant these days, but those two teams share. You've got a myriad of other sides sharing. At one point, I remember I think last season at one point there was 3 teams sharing at Arbour Park. Obviously, that's a 3G pitch, so slightly less of an issue. But so we've had all of that, and it's all added up into this big mess. That means quite likely a team like Sandhurst Town, who otherwise probably would win the Combined Counties Division One, are probably not going to be able to play all their fixtures by the 22nd of April in order to then take part in the playoffs. And the Combined Counties League basically have said there are no rules. There is nothing in the rules that tell them what they can do. So they're going to have to kind of make it up. And there are a couple of options. Points per game. Every game that's not played is 0-0, or points awarded to the away team. Those seem to be the opportunities available to them to decide on. As I said at the top of this, none of those seem ideal. No one is going to be, because that's going to distort the competition without off the field of play, which is not really what anybody wants. And as I say, it's a no-win situation. I think it's a mess. And I genuinely, I think someone did write. I think one of our friends within our little correspondence group had said, there probably are things the Combined Counties League and the other Step 5 and 6 divisions could have done. They probably know what they are. The Combined Counties League have said they try to make sure there's a game for every team every Saturday. There are but there's a load of stuff in the way. I think, as I say, just to be sort of sit on the fence, I suppose, a little. There probably are things they could do better. They will know what they are, and I would imagine they'll be looking at those and going and seeing to try to work out what it is that they can do better. But they do end up having to do all of these fixture plans with one hand, or maybe even both hands, tied behind their backs at times.
Yeah, I think, like you say, the headlines being that the FA has expanded the Step 6 divisions recently to lead to this, and like you say, they're being stricter in enforcing the guidelines. So again, moving teams having to ground share in those scenarios, and like you say, 15 out of the 21 teams in the Combined Counties Div 1 are either tenants or are ground sharing as tenants or landlords at a ground with another side. There are we've highlighted Sandhurst, who are on 29 games with supposedly 40 games to play. I think one of those fixtures is against Bagshots, who have put out a statement saying that when they couldn't complete their fixture, they forfeited. But again, I don't know if that's official or not yet. So it hasn't come through into the standings. But there are other teams as well. Brookhouse still have 10 games to play. Brookhouse have their own ground. I don't think they have anyone ground sharing there. West Side have 8 games to play. British Airways have 8 games to play. Spartans Youth have 8 games to play. Now, all 3 of those ground share or are or tenants or landlords with another team. So I mean, it's not just Sandhurst. There are other clubs in similar situations. And while I agree with you, actually, I think the FA kind of like being very inflexible with the end of the season dates. You can understand why, but for the combined counties Div 1, what is the issue with the playoffs taking place a couple of weeks later? Okay, it doesn't really it doesn't affect. It would make the league a little bit fairer because at the moment Sandhurst are having to play every midweek game, so they're playing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, day off on Friday, Saturday. Then they're playing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, day off on Friday, Saturday. They still have games to fit into that schedule, So presumably they're going to go on the Fridays.
I was going to say the idea that they're having a day off. I mean, how dare they?
Exactly. How dare they? But I mean, some of the teams are having games scheduled after the 22nd of April, which is the cutoff date. But the league has said that it's only teams that aren't involved in the end of season playoffs that can do that. So I think FA and flexibility, the expansion of Step 6 and what that's meant for clubs has led to this. But I also do think there are like the leagues and maybe even the clubs could have been a bit more proactive about scheduling these games. The fact that Sandhurst have games that were cancelled in December that are still yet to be played points to the fact that yes, okay, there are other. There's another team at their ground whose league and whose club might have been a bit more proactive about scheduling their games, but there's lessons to be learned for everyone. I think we've had bad winters before, and there's been situations like this before. But I think if we want to have a better outcome, then it can't just be everyone pointing fingers at each other. The FA saying, "All right, leagues need to sort it out." Leagues saying, "Well, there's nothing we can do," and clubs complaining at leagues or the FA. There needs to be a bit more of a proactive resolution, and the FA in particular, but also leagues and clubs need to come together and try and resolve this in a more effective manner. What do you think?
I agree. I think like you said, the simple fact is we've had bad winters before. Having fixture pile-ups at the end of the season is not unusual. It does happen. It's just because I think there are a little bit of flexibility here and a little bit more proactiveness maybe earlier in the season. But then again, at the same time, the only people, as far as I'm aware, the only people involved in all of this that are paid to do this and are not volunteers are the Football Association, the FA. So I'd still push back strongly to them and say be a bit more flipping flexible with what you're doing, because if you can't see, if you haven't been able to look back over the last few years and see what happened, fixture pile-ups have been happening for decades. So it's not a new thing. It's not a thing that's just suddenly happened. They need to be a bit more flexible. That's non-league football. Yep,
it is. And, we want it to be a fair competition because, like I say, Sandhurst having to play all those games, it's not really fair. It sort of affects the integrity of the league as well, doesn't it? It's not fair on Sandhurst having to have that fixture schedule. And so therefore they are, will almost certainly be affected by that in terms of perhaps dropping points in games that they otherwise would have won, picking up injuries and suspensions. Player welfare plays into this as well. We
haven't even mentioned player welfare.
With that fixture list that Sandhurst have, that's incredible. So
volunteer welfare, correspondent welfare, all of these things.
Exactly, yeah. And those pitches aren't going to get any better if they're having scheduling 5-6 games a week on them. So I mean, we need a resolution rather than just mudslinging. I think that's it. I agree. The FA need to be more flexible. I think leagues and to a lesser extent, but perhaps clubs could be a little bit more proactive. But a resolution is mainly what's needed, and hopefully something can be done in terms of lessons learned from this season, and we can have a better result in the future. But to be honest, I'm not sure.
Should we? Right, we've done 15 minutes on that. Should we?
Blimey,
Should we
yeah.
do something else?
Let's do some actual football, shall we? Well, we've mentioned the league quite a bit, and Abby Ticehurst is now here to join us, which is great. So we managed to avoid all of the chat on the regulations bit, the boring regulations bit. You get to dip in for the football itself. So, as we were just talking about. Leagues that have a massive backlog of fixtures. Why don't we start with the combined counties Div 1, because that's probably the league that's most affected. But we do have a cracking title and promotion race going on in that division. Berks County had a big win last night. They won 7-2 at home to Cove. Well, I say at home. They were playing at Ascot's Racecourse Ground. And that win took them back to the top of the table. They're 2 points clear from London's Samurai Rovers, having played a game less than London Samurai Rovers, but also in the hunt, Deportivo Galicia, 3 points back with played the same game. Langley, Bedford, Raiders Lane and Sandhurst, all separated by only 8 points with various different games played. What a cracking title picture, guys. Abby, why don't you start with Berks County? They're looking pretty good, aren't they?
I said it in the group chat on Monday. I think they're going to win it.
Yeah, they are. They're looking pretty handy. They're just going about their business well. They don't have quite the fixture backlog of some of the other teams, and they're making the most of it, aren't they?
Yeah, prolific. 7 goals is not too shabby, is it, for a Tuesday night? I think, do you know what? I think they're fast approaching that little thing we had last season about them hitting 1 to 10. I mean, 10 must be the next goal, surely. Yeah. I think they've had an 8 and a 7 and a 6. So yeah, 9 and 10 is next on the list. So yeah, I think, like I said last time as well, they haven't just got they don't lack just goal scorers, and they've got multiple goal scorers. So I think that really helps them. But it seems like the whole team is pretty solid, to be honest. There's not many teams have put many past them, essentially, I think, really. So they've had quite a few clean sheets, and then lots of their scores, generally teams do score against them, even when they win, if teams do score against it, it's 1 or 2 goals. So it's clearly working what they're doing there.
Yeah, and it's quite the title race picture with a lot of Berkshire interest, Tom. Sandhurst and Langley still there. In fact, Those two sides played each other on Monday, with Sandhurst coming out 3-2 victors at Arbour Park. Which way do you see it going?
I think I agree with Abby. I think it's Berks County's to lose now. I was just looking at the running. They've got 5 games left. They've only got 4 fixtures scheduled, so I'm not sure who the missing game is against.
I think it's against Langley, actually.
Is it really?
Wasn't scheduled,
That makes it slightly more complicated then, because they've also got Sandhurst, but they do have slightly more inviting games against Bagshot and AFC Aldermaston, which I think they would go into those as favourites. Also, I think they've got Hillingdon Borough in there as well. And last time I checked, or am I doing Hillingdon Borough? So they're mid-table. But yeah, I think it's probably, if they can get through those, Sandhurst and Langley tests, then I think it's theirs to lose, really. We'll see where you've got to fancy Langley for the playoffs, and who knows what's going to happen at Sandhurst. I do feel for them.
Yeah.
It's, as I say, whichever the sorry to go back to it, whatever the resolution is, it's not going to favour Sandhurst particularly well, I don't think.
Yeah, well, people talking about points per game. Sandhurst still have a very good points per game record, the best in the league at the moment. But yeah, they still have 11 games to schedule somehow, although maybe it's just 10, as I mentioned with the Bagshot game earlier. You could see them getting into the playoffs, but I mean, what sort of state will they be in when they get to the playoffs? Because with all those games they've had to play all the way through, I think they'd probably be favourites for the division, considering they have, like I say, 6 games in hands on Berks County and are only 8 points behind them. But with this schedule, I agree with you. I think Berks County are my favourites. I wouldn't say it's theirs to lose necessarily, but I'd say they're my favourites at the moment. There's some good teams there, and I hope it's 2 Berkshire clubs that go up at the end of the season, shall we say. Very nice indeed. Well, going from a pretty open title race to a title race where one club is pretty much there on the brink, shall we say. And Abby, we're coming to you again here because it's Ascot United are, they're 1 point away from the title and promotion in the Combined Counties Premier Division North. Are you willing to say it's yours to lose now, Abby?
I remain perpetually suspicious.
Oh, give over. Give over.
No, one game at a time.
Oh, boring.
I just you'll have to ask somebody else at the club. I'm so like, do you know what it is? I think it's being a Reading fan. I'm just think if this is too good, something's going to go wrong.
Brilliant. Well, Ascot United are 15 points clear of second place Egham Town. Egham have 5 games left to play. So that means that Ascot need just a point or Egham to drop a point. Either of those scenarios happen. Ascot have 5 games to play themselves. So Ascot need 1 point for the remaining 5 games to be crowned Combined Counties Premier Division North champions. Still not quite solid enough for Abby to say they're going to be champions. Tom, do you reckon you'll be a bit more?
It would be
a bit more positive.
It would be quite some bottle job if Ascot failed to get 1 point from their final 5 games. I think. I feel fairly confident. I don't know. I feel 100% confident that Ascot will get 1 point from their remaining 5 games. They have got. They've got Burnham, Spelthorne, Oxley, Chalfont, Edgware. Right. If they don't do it against Edgware, they will do it against Chalfont.
Yeah. And
they'll get a point on Thursday night.
Yeah, you reckon they'll get a point on Thursday night? So Thursday night is the next round of fixtures, as Tom alluded to. Ascot away at Edgware and Kingsbury, and Egham are away at North Greenford. So the title picture could be sewn up then. And to add a little bit more context, Ascot have 5 games left. They need a point. They have currently only lost 4 games in all competitions this season, so they'd have to lose all 5 and Egham to win all their games for that to happen. So,
it would pain me massively if Egham got that second spot. By the way,
oh yes,
years of rivalry with Egham. I can't bear to see them finish second.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, they've just nipped ahead of Reading City, who didn't have the best bank holiday weekend, losing to, first of all, they lost to Egham on the Friday game, and then they lost to Hollyports 3-2 on the Monday to be leapfrogged by Egham. And now Egham look like favourites for that second spot. Reading City still in it, only 2 points behind Egham, but they have played a game more, so they only have 4 games left to play. It'd be a real shame for Reading if they don't get that second spot. They've had such a good season, especially the first half of the season where they went unbeaten for so long. Abby, I'll come to you on this one.
I mean, the 2 times that we played them, it was proper football, proper non-league football. I think it's been a pretty, if I kind of take my Ascot hat off, it's been a very exciting season for the Premier Division North for Combined Counties actually, and it's been lots of place swapping regularly, which has made an interesting one. So I think Reading City will be gutted if they don't also go up. But then there's all the complication of the playoffs as well, isn't there? And 9 from 16 and playing teams you probably won't ever see again. So it should be an interesting few weeks. Yeah,
we should say that the second place team, as regular listeners will probably know, go into a playoff, a winner takes all playoff with a one of the third or fourth bottom place sides from step 4. That's sort of done on a geographical and points per game basis. So we'll have to wait to see to know exactly who any potential opponent of a second place team will be at the end of the season. Yes, but still a lot to play for there, although, perhaps not the title. That's sewn up. Even if Abby won't say so. Right, we've got a lot to talk about today, so I'll keep pressing on. We'll go on to another title race picture. Bracknell keep their title hopes alive with a win over. I've lost my notes on the win on Monday. Who do they play, guys? Help me out here.
Now you're putting pressure on me.
Oh, goodness.
Was it
That's
Swindon?
gone well, hasn't it? Swindon Supermarine. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, they played them on. They played them on Saturday. Actually.
Saturday, yes.
Yeah. And,
so we still don't know who they played on Monday.
This is good. Don't know who they played on Monday. Good.
Hold on a second.
Beaconsfield.
Beaconsfield, of course it was, because it was the return of Baker and Underwood to face their old side. So yes, a couple of victories have kept Ascot in the hunt there. Bracknell in the hunt there. They are 5 points behind Weston-super-Mare with a game in hand over their rivals, but games are running out now. They were due to face Truro tonight as we are recording away against the team in third in a massive game there, but that has been postponed. So we are Bracknell are going to have to wait to the weekend to get their next fixture in to try and catch up on Weston-super-Mare. Another team that might have to have a few fixtures being jammed into their end of season, and that might end up affecting any potential playoff games, Tom.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Jesus, this section's gone well. Yeah, so I was saying that Bracknell, with this Truro game having to be rescheduled, they could end up with a glut of fixtures at the end of last couple of weeks leading into a potential playoff campaign. How do you think that might affect them? I mean,
purely and simply, they could well be knackered going into the playoffs, but I wouldn't discount them winning the league just yet either. They've got, as we said, they've still got Truro to play. But I wouldn't discount them winning the league and going up automatically. So I am sure that is still the aim. I think Weston-super-Mare's wobble is over.
Yeah,
they do seem to have put together a couple of wins now. But I would not be surprised if Bracknell weren't in the playoffs because they'd won the title.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 4 games for Bracknell to go to catch up on Weston-super-Mare. Weston-super-Mare have 3. So, yeah, Weston need to have a wobble and pretty quickly. It wouldn't put it past Bracknell winning all 4 games, although that away trip to Truro does look very tricky. And Truro, of course, beat them fairly recently at Bottom Meadow. So that would be the really massive game still to play, although they still have Metropolitan Police, for example, who are chasing, who are no mugs, and they've got some other tricky fixtures to play. But the way Bracknell have played over the last sort of, I guess it's 6 months really, you wouldn't put it past them winning all 4, but then Western have to slip up fairly soon for it to matter in terms of the title picture.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, they are looking pretty good there. Okay. So, yeah, apologies to Bracknell fans for the sort of haphazard approach to that section. But
apologies, I got sidetracked by reading the Non-League Matters website. Which is always a mistake.
On topic, clearly. That's fine.
On topic, indeed. Yes, but before we get off this title race, there weren't any games in the Thames Valley County Women's Football League this weekend. But, Abby, you still want to talk about the Div 1 title picture going into the final few weeks of the season?
Yeah, it's a little bit similar to the Combined Counties Div 1, where actually the top 5 any one of them could actually do it. Similarly to Berks County, it's probably Ascot's to lose at this point. They've got 4 games left to play. They need to win all of those to be sure. But there's a few teams who are in around there and some fellow Berkshire sides as well. Mortimer are up there as well. Wargrave are in amongst it as well, and Ticehurst are too. I think Slough are just slightly outside of the chances. But yeah, there's a few knocking about in there. Wargrave as well have only played 12 so far, so they've still got 6 to go, so they could definitely be up there. It's essentially all riding on the fact that Ascot will drop points, which, given their form in the last 2-3 seasons, they had a little bit of a sort of mid-season wobble, but actually I think they've got back on the horse and they're striding towards that final fence to make it too a bit cliche there and go for all the Ascot puns. Yeah, so I think it's really exciting. I don't think New Bradwell, they won't be taken for fools at all. They'll definitely want to be up there as well. They are currently in second as well. But again, Ascot have got a game in hand. So, yeah, it's all to play for in the last sort of 4 or 5 games of the season in the Thames Valley. I'm sure Ascot will probably like a back-to-back promotion as well. Yeah, it's a very exciting end of the season in that division.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Mortimer there in third and Ascot basically having to play Mortimer home and away before the end of the season, it's not a foregone conclusion, is it? So, there's still tricky games to come, but it is sort of Ascot are the favourites, you've got to say.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, perhaps we'll be talking about double title Ascot United come in a couple of weeks' time. Ready to put your neck on the line for that one, Abby, or not?
Nope.
Not at all. Okay, well, that concludes part 1 of the show. Part 2, we'll be looking at some of the teams who are not at the other end of the table in their respective divisions, the relegation picture across a few of the leagues, and looking ahead to the weekend's fixtures and picking out a few for you to get down to. But until then, join us in part 2 for that.
Ads time, isn't it, Rob?
That's time. Go for it, Tom.
So this podcast is sponsored by the Curious Academy. Unleash your potential at our skills hub in Reading, specialising in digital, data analytics and sales training. We deliver inspirational and fun programs designed to help people wanting to improve their skills, whatever their background. Just email hello@thecuriousacademy.co.uk or go to thecuriousacademy.co.uk. I thought that advert was much better than last week's.
Very much so.
The other advert I need to tell you is that we are also sponsored by Ticket Pass, the ethical ticketing company. Ticket Pass is a great little service that allows sports clubs, businesses, events, people to sell tickets online, which is great. You can set it all up very easily. There are numerous other things. There's a shop facility. You can sell merch. You can sell season tickets, all sorts of stuff. But the great thing about Ticket Pass is that for every ticket sold, there is, of course, a small admin fee, but 50% of that admin fee goes to a charity that you can choose. And I know full well that there are many clubs within Berkshire using Ticket Pass that have raised hundreds and hundreds of pounds for charities locally and further afield. So Football in Berkshire uses Ticket Pass. We will be using it for our award ceremony again this year. I think we sent about £200 to charity last year, which was fantastic. That is the end of the adverts.
Thank you very much, Tom. And welcome back for part 2. So we are kicking off with one of the teams who have been in relegation trouble now for most of the season and are still out in there fighting with a chance for survival in the National League South. That is, of course, Hungerford Town. Not the most successful bank holiday weekend for Hungerford. They only picked up 1 point from their 2 fixtures. A draw, a creditable draw though, with Havant and Waterlooville, which keeps them in touch compared to the other teams around them. But perhaps a couple more points would have been needed. Hungerford still have 6 games left. They are currently 7 points from safety. They have a couple of big games still to come. I mean, it's starting to get to now or never time for Hungerford, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it'll be them. But it looks to me like it's 4 down from a possible 5. I think so. I think Dulwich Hamlet realistically are the only side that could possibly be dragged into it. And it's it's going to be a tall order for Hungerford Town to do this. I mean, 6 wins from the last 6 games. I think they'd be absolutely fine, and they are winning. The thing is, they are winning games and they are scoring goals. So you give them every chance, don't you? Really, they've beaten and they've got points off some teams significantly higher in the table than them. I wouldn't put it past them doing it, but at the same time, it's a big ask. They are probably, population-wise, certainly they're probably the smallest team, I think, in the National League structure. The fact that they've been there for so long is testament to the managers and the people off the pitch and what they've done and the players they've managed to bring in. But yeah, we just have to cross our fingers for them. It is a tall order, but as I say, they are scoring goals, so you never know.
Yeah. So they start this quest for safety, or the last 6 games. They're playing away at Concord Rangers, the bottom side in the division, tomorrow night. I mean, that's an absolute must-win for them, especially considering they finish their season away at champions Ebbsfleet United. So they also have a home game. 4 of their remaining fixtures are away, but one of their home games is home to Dulwich Hamlet, another side right in there with them. They do have a couple of fixtures against sort of mid-table teams, perhaps the sides you want to be playing at this time of the season, with less to play for. Not going to get in the playoffs, but still not threatened by relegation. Obviously, that doesn't mean they're going to be easy. They're mid-table, above Hungerford for a reason. So, but perhaps the fixtures are there to do it, basically. But it's now or never, isn't it?
It really is.
It really is. Okay, so another team that's being threatened by relegation is Windsor. Second bottom now in the Combined Counties Premier Division North. They've sort of been drifting towards the relegation zone over the last couple of months, and now very much in it. The bottom 2 in that division going down. Over the weekend, they'd got a creditable point away at Flackwell Heath, who are right up near the top of the table.
They never lose, Flackwell Heath. We've discussed this before.
Yeah, absolutely. And we mentioned in the pod last week they got 4-4 draw at Reading City, who at the time were second. But also they managed on Monday, they lost 3-1 at home to bottom side Oxy Jets, who are now level on points for them. So the 2 sides there are 26 points. Chalfont St Peter just above on 27, and Woking on Embrook just trying to nudge away on 29, a win above the relegation zone. How do you see this end of season relegation battle playing out, Abby?
It's a little bit chaotic, I think, actually.
Yeah.
It's a bit mad that you could pick points off teams like Flackwell and Reading City and then lose 3-1 to Oxy Jets. I think it's going to be much like the playoff place. I think it's going to be to the end of the season, definitely. I don't know. Windsor are having a chaotic season in general, actually. I think there's been some big scores as well from them. And then equally, they've had quite a couple of 0-0s as well. So I think they're just really struggling for some consistency across this season. Is what's really done it for them, is that they just can't quite seem to find that kind of ground where they're chugging along, essentially. So it's, like I said, chaotic. I think it really is going to run down to the wire. I think Holyport have done well to pick themselves up as well off that bottom 3, because they looked like they were in it for a little bit, but they seem to be looking fairly secure at this point now. So Woking and Embrook don't seem to have done too badly as well, which means that Chalfont have dropped below as well. So good for our Berkshire sides, obviously. But I'm not really sure how this and last few games is going to go, to be honest. Maybe Windsor will do it. They'll put it out of the bag. Who knows?
I mean, there's an absolutely huge fixture on Thursday night as Windsor take on Holyport. I mean, as we mentioned, Holyport did get that win against Reading City on Monday. So, like you say, they're currently 6 points above the relegation zone. I mean, teams have either 5 or 4 games left to play. Holyport actually have 7 left to play, so plenty of games in hand. And I think, to be honest, they only need 3 more points, so they're safe. I don't see Windsor, Oxy, and Chalfont St Peter all getting to 35 points. So I think 3 points from their remaining 7 games in Holyport should be safe. So it's an absolutely massive game there. But I mean, if they lose that one, 29 points, then suddenly Holyport are right back in it. So it's pretty big, isn't it? And we should mention that Woking and Embrook didn't play on Monday, but they did get a very creditable victory against North Greenford United, who've been flying of late. Wokingham and Embrook beating them 2-0 at Lowther Road. I saw the reverse fixture of that, and Wokingham and Embrook lost 5-0 earlier in the season. So, to turn it around and to, come good when it matters, because if they hadn't got that win, they'd be back down on 26 points with Windsor and Oxley as well, and things would have been looking really tight. But I think it's maybe 2 from those 4 if you include Chalfont St Peter and Oxley with Windsor. So Windsor and Wokingham and Embrook. So yeah, who are you picking, Tom?
I think it's Chalfont St Peter and one other.
Do you?
Yes.
Very okay.
I think Chalfont are bad at the wrong time, and I think they'll suffer a second successive relegation.
Yeah,
which is a shame from them, because they've always but it's they'll go into a competitive Division One, but it's a chance to rebuild, I guess. As I say, I think it will be Chalfont and one other, one of Wokingham, Windsor, or Oxley.
Very good. Well, yeah, of course, if Chalfont go down, they may well be in the Spartan South Midlands or something along those lines, because a lot of those teams around that area are in that division. So we will have to keep an eye on that, and another interesting end of the season in store for our Berkshire clubs. Okay, one other relegation battle we should mention is Maidenhead United Women in the National Women's League Division One South West. Hopefully I've got that right. They have, over recent weeks, started picking up points, and they're looking relatively safe at this point, Abby.
I think they've done enough. I think.
I'm sure you'll nail your colours to that, Mark.
They're not my club. I mean, they're 8 points clear of Larkhall in the relegation zone. So I think they've just about done enough. That said, they've got some tricky fixtures coming up. So I think they're going to struggle to possibly pick points up. I mean, there's only 3 games to play the rest of the season, but they've got to travel to Bournemouth, who, are absolutely flying, and Chelsea are doing pretty well themselves as well after that, which is their penultimate home game. And then I think, that final game of the season against Larkhall's really key to pick up points there. But I think they've just about done enough, I reckon. So, the only issue is, I suppose, that Larkhall and Austell have both got a game in hand, but actually I don't think that should threaten them too much. They've both got some big fixtures to play themselves. So, I think they'll be all right.
Well, Larkhall and St Austell, as you mentioned, both with a game in hand, and they play each other this weekend, or in their next fixture, rather. And so Larkhall win that, move to 12 points. I mean, I think, obviously, they need to be a punching distance for that final game of the season. So you're suggesting that Larkhall aren't going to get the points needed, aren't going to get, say, the 6 points they need for their next 3 games to make it interesting on the final game of the season. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think they've got Cardiff City, and then I think they've got Bournemouth as well. So I'd be surprised if they picked up points at either of them. Yeah,
absolutely. So Maidenhead, considering where they were earlier in the season, a pretty good return for the second half from 2023 so far, Abby.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously the manager changes affected them a little bit, and I think no disrespect to them, but the squad's quite experienced. So I think the fact that they've managed to bring in some younger players, and they've brought a few through the academy just to mix things up a little bit. And obviously Ed's brought in a good team behind him and a bit of experience managing previously. So I think actually it's been a really kind of turnaround season for them, actually. And I think they'll be ambitious next season as well. So I think, whilst I maybe don't think they will pick up all 9 points left, actually, I think the ambition will be there. So maybe we'll see a few surprises in the last 3 games. But best of luck to them, really.
Yes, very much so. Interesting one, and want to look out for. Okay, well, we'll finish up. We've rattled through. Go on, Tom.
I was just going to say, the one thing I noticed, I was writing an article on Tuesday, about what's left for all of the clubs, and what the chances are. And just talking about Maidenhead there, it just reminded me that in actual fact, I'm a little worried about Maidenhead United in the National League, the men's team, because they lost to Torquay on Monday, where 3 points for Maidenhead probably all but would have made sure that they will play in National League football again next season. As it is, they are now only 6 points clear of Torquay in 21st. Torquay have 43, Maidenhead have 49, but so Gateshead also have 49, York City have 49, Dorking Wanderers have 49, and Aldershot Town have 45. But it just means that their end of season is going to be a little more nervy than I think any of us perhaps expected. Comfortable mid-table was what I think pretty much all of us thought. I'm just a little nervous for them because they could have really done with that 3 points.
Yeah, I think... like you say, getting a bit nervy. I'd suggest maybe 2 more points would do it for them, basically, out their next 3 games. Perhaps Torquay. I don't necessarily, while they're on a run of 4 wins, so you can't really take anything away from them. I don't perhaps see them getting to 52 points, which would be 9 points from their remaining 4 fixtures. And there are still, like you say, other teams in the mix. Maidstone, Scunthorpe are officially down, and I think Yeovil are very, very close. So so it's 1 spot there, and as you mentioned, there are probably 6 teams going into that 1 spot, and I think as soon as Maidenhead get over 50 points, I think they'll be safe. So
probably,
I think I'm slightly worried, but I think they probably just need 2 points from their remaining 3 games. So, one to look out for with Maidenhead. But I would, if I'm going to stick my neck out, I'd say they will be in the National League next season. Very good indeed. Okay, well we've spoken about a lot, so we rattled through a lot of different teams and topics this week. So we'll finish as we always do by picking out a couple of fixtures in the upcoming schedule for you to get down to and for you to look out for. I'll come to you first, Abby. Why not? We'll start with the weekend, but if you want to mention anything midweek, because there are games on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, any groundhoppers dream for fixtures in Berkshire at the moment. But pick out a game on Saturday that you'd like to draw attention to.
I think I'm gonna go for. Oh God, there's just so many good fixtures. I actually think I'm gonna go for Virginia Water versus Hilltop.
Oh really?
It's not like I don't think it's not especially like oh my God they're going to win the title. Oh my God they're going to get relegated. But I just think Virginia Water are just edging their way into some kind of like the top 5, top 6, and I think whilst they lost last night, I think they're kind of a bit forgotten about sometimes. I think we forget about them, but actually they're having a fairly decent season. And Hilltop aren't far behind them. And I actually just think that they're 2 very quite dogged teams to play. So I think it would actually just be a great game of football as well. Virginia Water were hard when Ascot played them. They were a hard team to play against. And equally, Hilltop were tricky as well. So actually, I think, it's going to be quite an exciting game to watch. So even though it's nothing sort of, oh my God, like I said, a relegation or a promotion spot, I think it would be a good game of football.
Very nice pick. All right, Tom, over to you.
Saturday, I'm going to go for a team we haven't spoken about, Binfield versus Chipstead. Binfield's playoff chances are essentially out of their hands, but they would do themselves a huge favour by beating Chipstead. Chipstead is a tough old place. Is a tough team to play. I was going to say tough place to go, but they've already been there. It's at Hill Farm Lane. Binfield simply must win. I think that's the one I've got on the diary for me that I like. I think you're right, Abby. Virginia Water, a team we don't talk about very much, but they've quietly gone about their business this year, which is kind of nice. And you've also got the sort of the kind of West Berkshire Derby, Burfield, Reading YMCA in the Thames Valley Premier League as well.
Lovely,
which is a tasty one, separated by mere miles and a couple of bits of road.
I'm going to highlight Bracknell versus Gosport Borough at Bottom Meadow, just because, Bracknell can put more pressure on Weston-super-Mare. We spoke about it earlier. Gosport Borough safe now, more or less, from relegation. But so hopefully they won't be the most determined of oppositions, and as Bracknell can put more pressure on Weston-super-Mare at the top of the league. But I will draw attention to Thursday night, because there is just a host of really great fixtures. We've already mentioned Ascot could win the league at Edgware and Kingsbury. That's obviously not in the county, but Reading City are playing at home to Harefield. Windsor against Holyport is absolutely massive, and Sandhurst versus Berks County in the Combined Counties League Div 1 as well. Pretty much any game you could get to this on Thursday night looks like a cracker. So we'll leave that there, but we'll highlight a couple more on the women's side. Abby, do you want to go first on that one?
I think I'm going to go for, like I mentioned before, that title race. I'm going to go for Ascot Reserve versus Mortimer in Div 1 of the Thames Valley County.
Very exciting game there. Tom, do you want to pick out a game?
Yeah, I think if I had the ability to, a lovely trip to the seaside, Bournemouth v Maidenhead United sounds lovely to me. That sounds great.
Just because of the trip to the seaside?
Yeah, get some chips, go and watch some football. Lovely.
They're in the Vitality Stadium as well, actually, this game.
Well, there we go. Even you know what? I did know that. Yeah, so yeah, at the goal, was it the Goldston ground was Brighton. What was it called before? Don't know. Never mind. Move on. Games coming thick and fast. I was going to choose that Ascot Mortimer ladies game as well, but maybe the Eversley and California women's reserves against Walgrave Women Development. That's Eversley and California going for the title of the Thames Valley Counties Women's Football League Division 3 South. So a big game on offer there as well. Good stuff. Right, any more for any more? We've talked a lot this pod, so is there any more to fit in? No one's making any eye contact with me now, so I guess that means we have covered everything that needs to be covered. So thank you very much for listening to the Berkshire Football Stories Chat podcast. For all the information on Berkshire non-league football, you can get along to our website, www.footballinberkshire.co.uk, or you can follow us on all social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, the works. Just search for Football in Berkshire across all your platforms, and you can follow us there. But until next time, we will say goodbye. So it's goodbye from Tom Canning. Goodbye.
Goodbye from Abby Ticehurst.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me, Rob Davies. Goodbye.
Go buy FA Vars tickets.
You should have said that in any other business.
I just suddenly realised that as I thought that. I should have said, go and buy some FA Vars tickets. Tickets go on sale in half an hour.
We are live currently, but by the time this goes out online, Ascot's tickets for the FA Vars will be up on sale, so you can get along and go support them on non-league football day. So
what a nice little
nice little bit of a PS here, where you could go to support them. Where is it? May the 21st? Is it, Abby? Correct. Sunday, May the 21st for non-league finals day. Ascot versus Newport Pagnell. Get along to where can they get their tickets? So where can they get their tickets, Abby?
Go to Wembley Stadium, click on tickets. We're sandwiched in between England versus Macedonia and Harry Styles, which is mental.
Brilliant. So slightly chaotic end of pod, but it's a great message to go and support Ascot United at Wembley, and what a day that will be. I'm quite right in saying your ticket gets you into the FA Trophy final as well, doesn't it?
Correct.
Yes. So go
Halifax versus Gateshead.
Really. Yeah. So go and see Ascot versus Newport Pagnell and stay for the secondary trophy of the Gateshead versus Halifax game. Good. All right, that'll do. Time to sign off. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye.